Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At this point in the year, I say goodbye to 2019. This is our Christmas edition on Men. And we have not only come to the end of the year, but we have come to the end of a decade. It's been 20 years since we last were talking about millennium this, millennium that. 20 good years. So for those of you who thought you were still young, yet you were there in the year 2000, that was 20 years ago. Well, sorry, if you've not done much with your life, shame on you. This one is on you. But this is our Christmas edition. We've reached the point when everybody's talking about going out and enjoying, have a blast, family time, everything. It sounds good. But there's also a dark side to it. We're going to talk about alcohol addiction during this Christmas period. Now, gentlemen, welcome to the show. Isha, good to have you here.
Thanks.
You are,
good to be back.
You're not a first timer, so it's good to have you here.
Thanks.
Now,
Thanks,
we've seen reports about Uganda being called a drinking nation, and we laugh about it. We've seen how many bars on Acacia Avenue there are, and sometimes up until I'm coming from church on the Sunday morning at around 10, 11, there are people there. Now, this is the season when everybody says, oh, it's December, let's enjoy ourselves and all that stuff. Is there a risk that we can go overboard and now just plunge into alcoholism?
Definitely. Thanks, Peter. But I would like to clarify. People drink for so many different reasons. People take alcohol, some to have fun, some to forget. Some drink to gain courage, some drink to deal with fear, some drink. There are all sorts of reasons that people drink. But whatever the reason, you see, alcohol is a foreign substance in your body. And every time you put it in, you ingest it, there's always a risk that it can go out of control. Either you get drunk and out of control, or even chemically, it's a poison. So yes, there's always a risk that something may happen.
All right, great stuff. Banji, from a social scientist perspective, does the term enjoy responsibly really exist? Because you see, to you, being responsible, enjoying responsibly could be just have one, right? Mm-hmm. And go home. Mm-hmm. To me, I can finish a whole crate and I go home with no problem at all.
You see, the economists have argued about the law of utility and the law of diminishing returns, that certain consumables, the more you eat, as you continue eating, you need less and less of it. But that one has exceptions, and one of them is alcohol. In fact, you realize that people who take alcohol, the more you take, the more alcohol you demand. Okay, so you find out that you start by ordering one bottle. When it is there, then you order the second. Then after 2 hours, you are saying, bring the whole crate. You want to step on the crate and until you black out.
Oh, dear.
So that presents a challenge. For the Ugandan society, part of our challenge is that alcohol itself is a central part of our social celebrations. Be it a birthday, there will be alcohol. Be it a function and introduction, there will be alcohol. Even at a burial, there will be alcohol. So a big number of people grow up seeing alcohol, and they have no problem consuming alcohol. And in that sense, some people end up going overboard.
Yeah.
You know, celebratory mood is also a bit dangerous. Sometimes you don't know when to stop. And sometimes even if you want to stop, your friends are telling you, you know what?
Have just one for the road.
You know, add one more, add one more. And sometimes, by the way, some people who consume a lot of alcohol are even not necessarily buying.
Yes.
People are buying for them.
Yes, especially with the summers. Huh?
Yes. Now, our colleagues who stay abroad have come with a lot of cash to spend. They have to show us that they have made dollars. Yes. And what way to show us than to consume a lot of alcohol. So it's actually a challenge, and most people don't see that is a problem because alcohol is addictive. So, and Christmas with alcohol,
they fit like a glove.
Yes.
Now, Chris, Banji has alluded to it. In a lot of traditional African societies, when there's a burial, people say, we are celebrating this person's death. A child is born, we are welcoming the child. I mean, the child graduates from nursery school, we are celebrating that. Even a 1-year-old birthday, you'd think would have other babies around them, but they're adults in there. So one of the facts of life is alcohol is a part of our lives. But how can we be able to balance it? I mean, can we just cut it off and say it's bad 100%? Or can we say if it's consumed in appropriate measures, it's okay? I know that's a very thin line for you.
No. It's not thin. It's very broad, and there's a lot of space in there actually. So I usually
So that is crisis.
take my perspective from what I see in the Bible. It informs so much about me. But alcohol in itself is not bad. Just like money in itself is not bad. The Bible says the love of money is the root cause of all evil.
Yeah.
Loving it, not having it, but just loving it, lasting after it. And both the rich and poor can last after it. You can have a rich man who lasts for more, and a poor man who has nothing who's lasting for it. They can all do extreme things because of money. In the same vein, alcohol, in other words, money is a tool. Same way, alcohol is a tool. It's like Coke, it's like coffee, it's like salt. Anything taken in excess is a problem, right? Now, certain things, if you take excess salt, you most likely are not going to do it again. Because when you put so much salt in sauce, when you're looking at the chicken, it looks like, I'm going to buy chicken. When you take that one bite and there's so much salt, you say, oh, monyo. So you throw the chicken because at that point you're interfacing with salt. So salt has a way in which it controls you. Very few people get addicted to taking too much salt because a lot of salt is not pleasurable. Now, for things that have some pleasure to them, or that give you escape routes into another world, there's a bit of a problem. And that's why men's 3 biggest challenges are power, money, sex. And what is the amplifier of some of these things and drives men into maybe sex that is unhindered, or it's things like alcohol, because it removes inhibitions. All right. So I think that I have seen friends. I personally don't take alcohol. I typically don't take anything alcoholic. I have my stories.
When you say typically, does it mean sometime?
No, as in like on any given day, you will not find me taking alcoholic stuff. Because my grandfather had an interesting story. My great-grandfather was a mechanic, and my granddad in P2 or something, somewhere there, was called from school to find his dad. The dad owned a garage, and he found the dad convulsing. And back in the day, the treatment for people who have that kind of challenge with booze was give them urine.
Women susu actually.
Yes. So they gave the guy, it wasn't helping, and he found people peeing in the dad's mouth. And that's the last time he saw his dad alive. So he didn't take alcohol, told his kids not to take alcohol and things like that. On my dad's side, I've also seen some people who take alcohol. It didn't work very well. So I've not had great examples of people who take alcohol. But I've also seen that there's some people who call them social drinkers, or people who are disciplined enough to take a glass of wine, for example, and it's for digestion and things like that. And maybe for them it works. So I personally do not want to be to come down hard on whether God will frown at you when you take alcohol or not. But I will tell you about the calamity I see when men and women but we're talking to men
Yes.
right here, get to abuse alcohol.
Yeah.
There's a scripture in the Bible, I think it's Proverbs 22 thereabout, that says wine is a mocker, and the substance that causes, that causes drunkenness is a brawler.
Yeah.
I have seen respectable men leave a home, go to work, very smart. They come back and they look like they've been in a pigsty because they drank and they fell
got
in the
into a
gutters.
fight, I know that.
Right? Or a man I respect a lot who came back once where I was living and we had a conversation and he slept in the plate of food. He was served food and he napped in the plate.
In fact, Chris, you've reminded me. One time, a man bought his suit. Especially in the rural sector, people buy clothes for Christmas.
Yes, it's very important.
So a man spends the whole year, collecting money for his suit. He buys the suit. Come Christmas Day, he goes to church. Of course, some of them begin at church, then go to the bar.
Yeah.
So on his way back, I think he thought he had reached home. So, but the man had branched the bush. He had removed his nice suit and hung it in his mind on his on the hang.
Yeah.
Now, somehow, somewhere, it started raining, and I think the rain woke him up, and he took off. He reached home, he was naked.
Yeah.
Up to this day, the man is about now 15 years. The man doesn't know where he left his suit.
Oh, somebody picked it.
It is lost because the man slept in the bush. So,
So wine is a mocker and a brawler. It shames you because you don't get to know. It is said that you start by controlling the bottle, then it starts controlling you.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you control that point?
Yes.
Now that's a very critical point you're raising, because I think underlying all these different scenarios is this factor of control.
Yeah.
When we lack control over the alcohol, that's when it goes out of extreme. I mean, out of control and into the extreme. There are people who can control their drinking, like Chris mentioned, social drinkers, people who can have a glass, leave a glass half empty in the bar and walk away. And then there's a distinct category of people who cannot control their drinking. And then there are some in between, either who are on the way to being extreme, but haven't yet gotten there, because alcoholism is a progressive illness. It's a disease, and it's progressive. Some people do start as social drinkers and get into full-blown alcoholism. I am an alcoholic, and I always share that. And I've not had a drink in a number of years, close to 10 years now. But I'm still an alcoholic. What that means is that I lack the ability to control how much I drink. And this lack of control has nothing to do with whether I'm smart or dumb or rich or poor, black or white. It's a physiological thing. It's my body. My body cannot handle alcohol. Now, we're getting into the festive season, and I'm sure many of us will be asking, at what point do I determine that this drink is becoming a problem?
Yeah.
I think the simple self-diagnosis is this: if you need to control it, then it probably is already out of control. Because people who have no problem with alcohol are not in the bars. Trust me. They are home by 9, 10, latest they are home. They're up doing their business. And I think that is the real measure. We always say, I say we because I'm in the area of addiction treatment now. We say that it's a problem that is best diagnosed by the person themselves. You can tell when it begins becoming a problem, either problems at work, at home, in your physical health, and it will get you one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do need to go into a break, but just when we come back, I'm going to get back to you.
Yeah.
Isn't it just as simple as saying no? Food for thought. Now, we're here at the Hilton Garden Inn, and we are getting ready to celebrate Christmas. However, what does that mean to you in terms of alcohol? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. We are here at the Hilton Garden Inn, and we are talking about the festive season and the blend between alcohol. Now, guys, I was saying, come on. Isn't it just as simple as saying no and walking away? Isha.
Thanks. I'm sure you can say no and walk away, can't you?
Yeah.
There are some who cannot, and they've tried. One of the big myths about people who are struggling with alcohol issues is that they don't want to stop. Many times the individual actually wants to stop, but they find that they cannot. They are hooked. They drink compulsively. They're drinking to solve a problem. And there's another factor that we need to put into account. Alcohol actually gives a very nice effect. People drink for the effect, not for the taste, not for anything. It's the effect. And unless somebody can find a substitute that gives him the same results, because alcohol is also predictable. It's more predictable than most other solutions you'll find, including going to church and looking for other sources of pleasure. But it's very predictable. There's a certain kick that one gets when they drink, and that's what people look for. And historically, like you mentioned, we know that since time immemorial, alcohol has always been a social lubricant. It's the drink for celebration, funerals, whatever the occasion. But we know that alcohol and certain social activities don't mix. You mentioned inhibitions being affected. Operating a car or other machinery is absolutely dangerous. We see a spike in accidents during the festive season. Yes, and many other dangers. So I personally, speaking for myself, I think if there's something wrong if I'm looking for chemically induced happiness, you know. If to be happy and to be joyful and to be at peace with myself, I need to take a drink, there's something wrong. That's the way I would look at it. And the ultimate substitute for alcohol is for the individual to become more conscious of themselves and find other ways that they can find pleasure. Yeah.
Peter, can I ask Isha, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Can you share, and probably you've talked about this a lot, but you said you are an alcoholic.
Yes.
Who hasn't touched a bottle, a drink, an alcoholic drink for 10 years?
Yeah.
How did you do it? What happened? Like, I'm sure someone wants
Yes.
to know. Just look in the
Yeah,
camera and
exactly.
tell us as men.
Yes.
How did you do that? 10 years no drink, and yet you are an alcoholic. What?
Okay. Before the 10 years, there was 20 years of drinking.
Oh,
Yep. And in those 20 years, like we've discussed, I started drinking as a social drinker. I could work and drink, I could perform all my other duties and still drink. But as time went by, the drinking got out of control. I always summarize my drinking life this way. In the beginning, I drank to feel good, which is what most of us do. I drank to feel good. But then as the drinking progressed, I started drinking just to feel normal. Without a drink, I didn't feel normal. And then the drinking progressed to a point where I started drinking not to feel anything, drinking to forget. At that phase in my life, problems started piling up. I started losing jobs, I started getting involved in accidents, getting problems with the law, social problems at home. I could not be a good father, a good husband, a good son, a good citizen, because when I'm driving drunk on the road, I'm not being a good citizen. I'm endangering everybody who is on the road. And all through that time, there was always the nagging obsession that I'll find a way to drink safely. And I did try to find that way. I tried to drink safely. But it got to a point where I had to give up and realize that I was not going to win in that battle. it's at that point that I sought help. I sought help from my family, who sought out professionals who could help me. And that's the way I got out of my drinking. I sought professional help from addiction specialists. And even after that, I had to adapt a new way of life and find substitutes to the drinking. These substitutes include, of course, individually, it includes a spiritual journey that I had to embark on and find new meaning to life beyond the bottle. It involved changing friends, changing places, people, places, things, and situations where I always would find myself. It was almost like a 360-degree change. One thing I can say to all the men out there is that we used to joke in the bars that it's public laughter and private tears. For most men, that's what happens. The happy in the bar. When everybody goes to their separate ways, it's individual pain, whether it's the physical hangover or all the regrets, because a lot of things happen between the bar and home.
Yes.
So there's professional help out there. From my own experience, I teamed up with other professionals and we set up an institution called Africa Retreat Center. It specializes in helping people deal with addiction, not just alcohol, but other substances. And we have 2 fully professionally run centers, one in Kampala and another in Barara. And if anybody has a problem, we men don't like to seek help. We always want to be the macho man, try to solve the problem. But in this game, there are no heroes. They are just victims. The best advice I would give to somebody is seek help. It's the best thing you could do for yourself.
But you see, from the argument you've presented, I like the other part where you gave the 3 stages.
Yes.
Stage number 1, you took the alcohol to be social.
Yes.
Social drinking.
Absolutely.
So you want to feel good, you want to be sharp, and then the second stage, you started taking the alcohol
just to feel normal, just to
feel
operate normally. Yes.
Good. You need it. Yes, you need to operate. And then the third stage, you took the alcohol to feel not to feel anything.
Numb the pain.
Yes, to numb the pain, because now there you've reached a position where if you don't, you are now actually alcohol dependent.
Absolutely. Yes.
Without a drink, you can't function. Actually, you become sick.
Yes.
So the alcohol
illness,
itself
yes.
kind of, shadows the pain, and then you get worse and you get worse. But,
use alcohol
yes, to cover up,
to solve the problem that alcohol created.
yes, to to cover up. And I think that one reflects a lot, especially to the men and the young boys, because I am just reflecting on my own youth, probably, that some guys out there, we are shy, and this is the festival season. You want to look at people of the opposite sex. You can't master to approach a lady. So your friends say, take this one.
Drink,
and when you finish 1 or 2, you feel, you have the courage. And you go there, and then you rap the words, and then probably she smiles. So the next time, you add 2, then you add 2, then, and it becomes a habit. Now imagine if you do that for the next 3, 4, 5 years. This is the challenge. And this also fits very well. I think there was a recent report about our work rate as Ugandans, that most of us, I think, work for 3 hours a day. I have been to communities and to villages where guys wake up in the morning and then they go to a bar. They sit on alcohol. They have not done anything. In fact, this Christmas, some children will go hungry, but their fathers will be having money for alcohol. So this is how bad alcohol can be. And the point, there is where you reach a point of, I call it a point of no return, a point of gravity, that even if you are headed to church, you will find yourself to the bar. In fact, the guy will even come to church hiding a bottle here and say, please, Jesus, save me from taking this bottle. Immediately they say amen, he goes outside and sips the bottle. Because now you become sick, you lose control of your own senses, And this becomes a problem. And I like the part where you said you became a bad citizen. You became a bad member of society. And I think this is where we need to draw the red line, that now this alcohol has become
it's out of
yes,
control,
even if it is at an event and one or two people are saying you are shouting or you are doing something which is antisocial, you just know that you've taken a lot and it is time to check yourself.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I think, and it's something which a lot of people out there would like to know, how do I know I'm reaching that point? Because I don't believe there's anybody who sets out and says, I'm going to be an alcoholic today, you know. It kind of creeps up on you, you know. When you reach that point where you say, no, you know what, now this is getting out of control, I have to stop it. Because I believe the only person who can stop it is you. Because also on the flip side, the easiest person to lie to is yourself. Because you know yourself. You know what you need to hear. So when do you say, you know what, I have to pull the handbrake?
I think First Isha did mention it. You know, he said, when you feel you need to control it, it's already overboard. That's the indication. Once you start sensing that, I need to control
change
this
bars, change friends, change drinks.
Then you know it's already overboard. But I also know that in every human being, there is a compass. Let me call it a compass. Or a thermostat. You sort of know internally that something is off.
Yeah.
No one is talking to you, but you sense it. And this is with anything that's extreme. You know when your verbiage is getting extreme. If you're speaking and you're getting overboard, there is always a call it a conscience, call it a compass, and it's a God-given thing that tells you, dude, this is a little overboard, a little too much. And I think we need to trust it.
Yes, the nature of alcoholism and indeed the other drugs, narcotic drugs or other drugs that somebody can get dependent on, is that one of the symptoms that you have a problem is denial, you know, because it's a problem that tells you don't have a problem. You try everything you can to prove that you don't have a problem. And that's always the baffling problem with addiction. Because if it was that simple, I have a problem, leave it alone. But for people who are struggling with this problem, there's the other side, which says, I will one day be able to control this. Maybe if I change drinks, maybe if I change bars, maybe if I change wives, you know, I have a nagging wife or something like that. If you had my wife, you drink. Those are some of the things you hear. And it's that desire to control, because it's human nature, the need to control. And that leads to that, we call it cognitive distortion, the inability to recognize that it's out of control.
All right. Now we're here at the Hilton Garden Inn. I'm going to come straight back to you as soon as we get back from the break. Don't forget, this is your show. We want to hear from you. Our Twitter handle is NTV MEN UG. Our Facebook page is NTV MEN. Like us, let's get talking. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. We are here at the Hilton Garden Inn getting ready for Christmas. But we are asking about the sticky question about how do you manage your alcohol during the Christmas period. Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. One of the thoughts that just hit me was, Anisha talked a little bit about this, the whole thing about changing the kind of people that you associate with. I'm thinking that if you take more than a bottle a day, and most of your friends, you are at 7 bottles a day, and many of your friends can do, are there guys who do 12 or 15?
Much more than that.
Yeah, much more than that. So if you're at 7, and most of the guys you hang out with,
you're not doing bad.
do 15.
Yeah.
You feel normal, right? As in, like, of the evils, I am the same. Like at least me, I do 7. So at least I can drive them home. Tipsy, but really, I can get them there.
Yes, I drink, but I'm not as
Not as bad as.
Yes.
Yes, and you see, Chris, just there, about 20 years ago, I think, I had a group of friends, they all drink. So one time, I think it was New Year's Eve, and I also ordered for a bottle of beer, they put it on my table. My friend picked that bottle and drank it non-stop. So when he finished, he ordered for me a soda. He said, my friend, never start alcohol when you are old. Because then you will have no, you can't control it. It will be sweet for you, you will just continue drinking and drinking. So, and later on, I really, every day, I appreciate this man.
For taking your first bell.
He will pay me my bill, but he helped out. Because normally, the point is, we have different levels of tolerance to alcohol. You know, me, I may take 1 bottle a day, but that is already too much. You may take 2 a day, but that may not have.
Some of us will smell it.
Yes,
and you're done.
You're done. So, and I think the idea of alcohol is not food. That's the first point that people need to know. You don't have to take alcohol, and you don't have to take alcohol to fit in a group. No, that you are taking alcohol for a wrong reason. You know, because you can be with people who take their alcohol. Some people are seasoned. The guy takes 1 bottle every Friday, and that is it for the next 20, 30 years. That is his level. He never crosses. Even if you say, I will add you money, take the second, he says, no, that's where I stop. So I think the tendency to have alcohol today, and tomorrow creates a problem. But the other thing I think we've not talked about in terms of alcohol is the type of alcohol that you take. Because if it is processed, then the alcohol content is regulated. You can read on the bottle and you know that this beer is 10%. But some of it is crude. Crude alcohol. You are taking probably it is 95%, probably it's 100%. So even a sip, a small sip.
When a guy tells you I took a glass.
What Banji is saying is very. I remember on campus there were guys who would get a 500 milliliter bottle, just like a mineral water bottle of alcohol. Sit 5 guys, and that thing knocks you out.
Yes,
all of you. Just that small bottle. You know. But you see, I think also the question we need to be asking ourselves is, what is it doing to you internally? You know, I mean, what is the damage that is being done? Because there is the social damage. I'm a firm believer in work. And you rightfully say, when you have drank, there are people who say, oh, you know what, I can handle my alcohol because I can function the next day. No matter how good you are, it means if you didn't drink at all, you'd be even much better, you know. The reality is, it dulls your performance. You cannot, and one thing which goes out to a lot of men out there is, the older you get, the less your resistance to alcohol. You can't say, yeah, I used to, when I was 20, I could drink a whole bottle of, what do you call it, of vodka. No, when you're 20, usually you can't afford that. A bottle of Johnny Walker.
That's when you're doing the cancer.
Oh my God. You are talking about the damage that alcohol does to you. I need all the men out there to look in their village where they stay, whether it is in Kampala, whether it is in Moroto. Look through your village. If there is a person who drinks every day for the last 40 years and is 70 years, you bring him to NTV. I will buy him a suit for Christmas. He's not there. One of the quickest ways you can go to your grave is alcohol.
And can I say something right there?
Yes.
When you say alcohol kills, we don't mean that you're going to take an overdose and drop dead. Alcohol kills in so many different ways, and we've learned to mask it as a society. When people die of liver damage or other alcohol-related illnesses, we never say it's the alcohol. When people die in accidents, we don't say it's the alcohol. When somebody gets involved in risky sexual behavior, we don't say it's the alcohol. So if you go to any hospital, you will see so many alcohol-related problems, but no one is saying it's the alcohol, because the picture we have of alcohol is the bars are open, it's the happy crowd, and everybody is having fun. But that is not the real image.
Yeah.
The other thing, if I may, Chris, we're not talking about the example that we men give to the young children behind us, because we've given alcohol this very veritable position in our social life, and many young children are aspiring to drink, to be like that. We do preventive programs in schools, and we have found that one of the biggest problems that young children are facing, teenagers, is absentee fathers. And these fathers are not absent because they are living far away or not at home. They are absent because they are simply disengaged. And where are they engaged? It's in the bars. It's out there. They're completely disconnected. It's a big factor.
So wait. Let me two quick things. One, the challenge about alcohol is this. Now, I'm in communications, marketing, and business development and stuff like that. But I don't know why, but the best ads in the world are alcohol ads.
Yes, they look lovely.
They've got a way of making it look so attractive and so appealing. It's like, here is heaven. Grab it.
There's some which even advertise with honey.
Yes. So you know, this thing with honey or with lemon or with banana,
Twists
I don't know.
something, sorry.
The twists and things. But the thing is that when you grab a hold of it and then ends up grabs a hold of you, it's a terrible thing.
It is.
But here's the thing. The beer ads and the booze ads are really, really good. Yeah. So one of the things that I think we need to look at is this, which is not everything that seems attractive is good for you. Yeah?
People know about women.
Oh yeah. Not everything that seems attractive is good for you. The way the Bible puts it, the way Paul wrote, he said, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. You're permitted to drink, but is it beneficial for you? There's a time I was at St. Francis Chapel, and back then, for Holy Communion, they would serve church wine, proper, dip that bread in and then give it to you, midweek service. I remember I took that thing, Holy Communion, and when I stood up, I was like, whoa, what was that? And so there are actually people who have got a very light head.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're thinking you're big league when just the smell of the thing is going to knock you off your socks. But the point I was making earlier I wanted to emphasize, was the thing about the company you keep. If you are with the guys who are playing 15 bottles and you're with 7, and you want to change this Christmas, could you hang out with the soda guys just for a change and see what happens? Because here's what happens.
Yeah.
There are people, because they don't participate in the area where you are struggling, they encourage you. You get to see that there are other normal people who don't live by the bottle, and they help you see another world, right? Because I really think that we need to have a good balance of friends, right? If all your friends are senior drinkers, you are going to have a problem. But also, if all your friends are just in church, and you don't have any other friends, there is a problem. So there's a no, seriously. We need to have a balance, because in some cases you find that you are useful to the people. In other cases you find that those people are useful for you. So when you think about 360 degrees, I always say to myself, who are the people who are better than me that I need to be friends with? they either make more money, they're more accomplished in all aspects of, different aspects of life, maybe family, maybe with wealth, maybe with God, relationship with God, or whatever it is. So like hang with the egos because they pull you up, right? And then challenge, have peers who you challenge and those who challenge you. Because if you have the guys who are dragging you down the whole time, you're not going to make it in life.
All right, guys, we've reached that point where we do have to wrap up. So, will that be your parting shot?
Okay, well, I want to conclude what he brought up. He talked about parenting, the role of absentee parents. They are there, they're in the households, but they are not there. But just imagine every time you enter a bar and you find this couple or a man seated with a child in the bar, you know, the damage, because the child, you are teaching the child that it is normal to drink. And also, I think part of your investigations, you have realized that most people who drink, they had the first bottle from home. So why are you stocking alcohol in your house? You have children. You have bottles of wine here and there, and in the fridge is not locked. You have your kasese, your lira, your whatever local crude in your house. So I think the beginning point in terms of alcohol this Christmas would be that as parents, we have to take responsibility. Can we remove the alcohol from the house where there are children? Probably, and keep it in the bedroom or somewhere where there are no children. This would be my advice, because as parents, we are role models. So the more our children see us drinking, the higher the likelihood that they are going to drink. But secondly, that whereas people who sell alcohol have put a lot of attractive packages, buckets, you know, you buy a whole bucket of cheaply. In fact, for them, they are making a profit at your expense. So we need self-regulation. Self-regulation. Of course, the politics of alcohol is so much, because these companies pay a lot of taxes and etc. You will not find a state which is non-Islamic that has banned alcohol consumption. They all promote its sale because it finances the roads, the power, and the etc. It's politics. But at an individual level, this Christmas, can we reduce, can we keep the alcohol away from children, but also can we save that money and don't be broke in January?
Yes, I agree. Chris, your parting shot.
The way I think about alcohol or anything that that inhibits men from achieving their biggest potential is this. You have a choice between, say, your legacy being a great one, or the bottle. You choose. You're going to drink, or you want there to be posterity, generations after generations after you that are solid because of how you behave. So if you have to choose between legacy and booze, I hope you choose legacy.
And Chris, by the way, I didn't tell you, booze kills the republic of the mans.
That's true. That is true.
That's very
That is true.
Yeah.
Your parting shot.
Thanks, Peter. Now, what I would like to say is this: it's not a moral issue. For me, your inability to control your drinking is not a moral. It's not a moral failing. It's something that you have to come to terms with. If you cannot control your drinking, it's what it is. Accept it for what it is. You're not a weakling. You're not a bad person. You're not evil. You're not anything. You just have got to that point in your drinking career where it has become a problem and you cannot control it. And there's help out there. Check us out. Just go to africaretreatcenter.com and call us. If you need help, don't be ashamed, because it's better to seek help. It's the bravest thing you can do, to seek help rather than to drown in alcohol and its attendant problems, because with alcohol comes all kinds of things: the illnesses, the poverty, the broken homes, fatherless children. It's a whole mess out there. Seek help. It's there. It's available.
Oh, great stuff. So you've heard it from the men out there. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas, but stay safe, be responsible, because you have only one life. and that's yours. So from us here tonight at the Hilton Garden Inn, have a Merry Christmas, God bless, and take good care of yourselves. Don't drink too much.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Merry Christmas from NTV MEN.